Hey Daily Dosers, thanks for joining us today. My name's Kirk. I'm one of the pastors here at North Coast. We are in Favorite Jesus Stories. I'm diving into Luke chapter 15, verse 1. Three parables back to back to back. Here we go. 15 verse 1. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathered around to hear Jesus, but the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." So we have kind of a mixed crowd here listening to Jesus' teaching. Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost one until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I found my lost sheep." I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. Parable number 2. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Sounds familiar. Does she not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she does, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, again, "Rejoice with me, I found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is more rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. It feels like we have a theme here. The third parable is the parable of the lost son, or you may be familiar with the prodigal son. I'll try and sum it up for you quickly. Basically, two named sons, an older son and a younger son. The younger son, in a moment of great selfishness, basically says, "Dad, I don't want to wait for you to die. I want my inheritance." And Dad, in an act of love, gives it to him. The son runs off, squanders it all on the pleasures of this world, hits rock bottom, throws his life away, has nothing left, is eaten with the pigs and realizes, why am I here? I should try to return home, even if I get met with Dad, who has the biggest "I told you so" moment ever. Anyways, he returns home, and in a surprise or a little plot twist, Dad sees him far off, runs to him, wraps his arm around him. The son says, "I sinned against you, I sinned against God." And Dad says, "We need to celebrate because you're lost and now you're found," which is this beautiful image of how we're spiritually lost. We carry with us all this guilt and shame, and yet God looks at us and says, "You're home, you're a son, you're a daughter." Here's the problem. That was all of chapter 15 of what looks like Jesus basically saying, it's like something gets lost and gets found. It's like something gets lost and gets found. It's like, I have never thought of Jesus as having the time to waste on telling the same story 3 times over. And what I want to do today is I want to make an argument that maybe these stories aren't as similar as we think they are. So the lost sheep, I would ask this, where are they lost? Well, the passage says they're lost in the open country. They're out there somewhere. In fact, it says that the shepherd goes out and searches for them until he finds them. We don't know where they are. They're non-believers. They're out in the wilderness somewhere. What's the difference between the story of the lost sheep and the lost coin? Well, if the sheep are lost in the wilderness, the coin is lost in the house. The woman knows it's there somewhere and she still has to search, but it's lost somewhere in the house. And then that third parable, we want to think that it ends with the younger son, but really verse 28 says, the older brother got really angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him, but he answered to his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and I never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat to celebrate with. But when this son of yours, who has squandered all your property with prostitutes, come home, you kill the fatted calf for him. My son," the father said, "you are always with me and everything I have is yours, but we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." Might I suggest to you that this is maybe one of the only times where Jesus is actually reaching out to the Pharisees and the crowd? And although we've seen him so many times rebuke them, he's saying, guys, I know that you know God, or at least you think you do, but you're lost in the house. And let me suggest to you, Christian, or even give you permission, oftentimes we equate that lostness to being prior to knowing Jesus, and yet I still think we as Christians can get lost in the house, whether that's a day, a week, a month, a season, whether that's an unhealthy relationship, whether it's struggling with an addiction or a temptation, something. We get lost in the house still to this day. Don't forget that. Psalm 119, 105, it says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and it's a light to my path." And those two statements are not redundant. It's saying that your word is a lamp to my feet so that I may not stumble, and it is a light to my path that I may see the way. We need to stay in this. We need to digest this. We need to let this permeate our life lest we get lost. Remember, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you're not going to get lost. We need to keep this close in hand. I'll see you on the path. God bless.